Okay, so here's a quick demo video for some status updates about a project I'm working on called Lunchbox. Lunchbox is a GUI wrapper around Vagrant, specifically the Drupal VM Vagrant project. Make it a little easier for day-to-day usage and those folks who aren't interested in learning or dealing with the command line. I've already got it running here. The booting up the VM takes about 30 seconds or so. Didn't want to have to make you wait to watch that, so it's already started here. We'll go into the tools section. These are tools that are automatically installed as part of Drupal VM. I'm just exposing them here with a little bit of explanation over what they do. Probably of biggest interest here to most users would be the adminer, which is just an interface into the MySQL server running in the virtual machine. You can see here I do have a demo project already started. Also, we have Pimp My Log, which is a log viewer, log streamer, so you can watch what's happening. You have to configure it on a new VM when you first boot it up, just walking through the screens here. As you can see, it's actually running within drupalvm.dev, so that's running within the virtual machine. And then also xhprof by default is configured and running. If we go into settings, these are some of the settings that previously you'd have to edit manually within the YAML file of Drupal VM. I'm just exposing them through a GUI here. Specifically, if you want to default to a machine address, if you need to change that for your particular network or to make sure it doesn't collide with any other IPs on your network. Default host name. You saw from the other projects here we're showing adminer. It shows it adminer.drupalvm.dev or pimpmylog.drupalvm.dev. That drupalvm.dev, this is where you configure that. You specifically want to know where your local files are going to be stored. I'm storing them in projects/Drupal VM sites, how much memory, how many CPUs, your file sync method to get the files in and out of the virtual machine, and then here are a bunch of extras that can be installed. You see the ones that are installed by default within Drupal VM. Also gives you the option of installing Node.js, Ruby, Selenium, and Solar. Right now I'm reflecting what's in the config file but not actually writing these settings back. That'll be coming shortly. Of course, in reset settings, what this does is actually pull in the example config file that ships with Drupal VM and wipes out any of your customizations here. So if you need to start over, you can. If we go into sites, this is the demo site I just mentioned there. You saw in that there was a MySQL database for already. The database, some actions, these aren't fully functioning yet, and then you can delete the site here if you need to. You see you get a warning here if you delete what will happen, but we'll just cancel out of that. Now the really exciting part is when you go to create a site. I've tried to make this fairly easy. Do need to streamline the UI a little bit, but the functionality is all here. So you can give it a project name. We'll call this one Drupal 8 in honor of today being the day Drupal 8 launches. Git URL, if the project is already started somewhere, you can clone the Git repo to your local directory. Whether or not it's a Composer project, if it is run by Composer, clicking yes here will make sure that Composer install is run. And for example, we're going to go over here to this Drupal Composer project. That's a sample of how you would manage running a new Drupal project with Composer for all your dependency management. This is basically a replacement for Drush Make and really gets in alignment with how much of the rest of the PHP community handles their projects and dependency managements. So we'll just copy the repo URL for this and we'll paste this in here. We already said it's a Composer file. And then webroot is within this repo and this project name directory that gets set up, is there a specific subdirectory that we should be serving the files out of? And I know for this particular one, all of our public web files will be within the subfolder web. Here is my Drupal VM sites directory, and you can see in a moment when I hit create that it will create a directory for us called Drupal 8. Already did the git clone, and now it's running Composer. Checking the dependencies in just a moment here, you'll see the vendor directory pop up and start getting populated with all the other projects that this will be dependent upon to run. All right, and there's a vendor directory. It's starting to fill up, which is pretty nice. And if we go back to our adminer screen here, if I were to refresh this, In a moment, after it finishes reprovisioning the VM, we'll see our Drupal 8 database shell be created here as well. All right, so it's already done. We do need to reprovision, and this is where it actually creates the Apache vhost for us. So the Drupal 8.drupalvm.dev will work, as well as create that MySQL database I was just looking for. So we'll run that, and this usually takes, it could take up to about 30 seconds to run. Nice part about running all of this is it does get sandboxed into a virtual machine if you need, to keep it separate from your local desktop host environment. And as you can see, there's a lot going on in here in provisioning the VM. These are all the tasks that you wouldn't need to reset up if you ever needed to wipe this and start over. It's very templatized. Drupal VM specifically is controlled by Ansible, which is a very easy provisioning method to go in and just edit some YAML files for how everything should be configured. One of the nice things about Drupal VM specifically, it also ships with a custom YAML file to mimic the Acquia hosting environment. So if you want to make sure that your local development is matching as close as possible to Acquia hosting, you can do that. There is one bug I'm running into with it right now. I'm not sure if it's Drupal VM or Ansible or Vagrant, but I'm looking into it that when you create a new site, it sets up the vhost, but it doesn't actually restart Apache for us. One of the simple things you can do is just stop the VM and restart it if you didn't want to have to deal with the command line, which is the purpose for this entire GUI. The other option, until I can find a workaround for this, is that you just SSH into the machine and do an Apache CTL restart on it. We'll do it the slightly longer way here, so we're just clicking on buttons. We're almost ready. You see it's rsyncing the folder, so all these files that were just brought in through Composer install, making sure that they're available within the VM as well. All right, so now we're back up. If we go over to Sites, we should be able to click on Drupal 8, and there we go, we're up and running.